Naoya Inoue back in action potentially. Bob Arum has told media that Naoya Inoue's next fight will take place April 25th in Las Vegas. They are trying to make the match, trying to match the already unified WBA IBF bantamweight champion in a further unification against either WBC champion Nordine Oubaali or WBO champ John Riel Casimero. And because of that date, I am thinking that it will be the co-main event to Lomachenko Lopez. Just what I'm thinking. Lomachenko Lopez, April. You have Inoue versus or Oubaali or Casimero in Vegas. That's way too big of a market for that fight. I assume it's going to be a co-main event to Lomachenko Lopez, which will do pretty well, like, let's say, like the Mandalay Bay events, something like that. A little bit smaller venue, like the mid-sized venue in Vegas. Gary, thoughts on Inoue fighting for unification next? No tune-up after his, orbital fracture and broken nose. And plus the potential, that I'm speculating here, of it landing on the card, the co-main event to Lomachenko Lopez.
I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thought Vegas was a weird place to put it. But no, that makes a lot of sense. You're probably right about that, right? I was like, okay, Vegas, it's a big fight. I don't know.
And you use Loma as a vehicle to promote your new signee, Inoue. That's what I would do.
That is, Lopez, both those cards are great on their own. Inoue versus one of those guys. Mm-hmm. And then Lopez versus Lomachenko is obviously like my favorite card so far for next year. So that's a great card. I mean, it won't be the biggest card of the year, especially with Fury and Wilder too. But it's my favorite card so far. I love that card. With both those fights on it, Lopez versus Teofimo, Lopez versus Lomachenko is a can't miss, and Inoue versus anyone is a can't miss. So I love that card. It's a really good card. I hope they put it in front of enough people. Do you think it's going to be pay-per-view?
If it's Loma Lopez, no. I think that'd just be ESPN Plus. To be honest,
even with Inoue on it, with both those names on it.
Yeah. If it's pay-per-view, then we need to like really take the pot away from Bob Arum, right?
Do you think it'll do better if it was pay-per-view? Do you think it does better than Crawford Khan? It's hard to think it does worse. You know what I'm saying?
Probably around the same. Like it does maybe above 100,000, but it's still a bomb. Like it's still a huge box office bomb. Let's be honest.
200, because at 200 you start to hit where no,
because Crawford's a bigger star than Loma. Like Crawford's routinely done bigger TV numbers, better gate numbers than Loma. Like it's not even a question. Like Loma is still like kind of in like 3,000 and 4,000, 5,000 seats arenas.
Yeah, no, I get that, right? He's Crawford's a much bigger star, all right? But maybe it's just me. It is Lopez versus Lomachenko not really such a big deal if you're outside of the boxing bubble.
I'm of that mindset. Still very much an insular fight. It's first off the lightweight division, so you're on that threshold of hardcore divisions. Let's just be honest here. Lopez is a guy that while he has been promoted heavily by Top Rank, I don't know if he's been promoted equally as heavily as ESPN, if you guys understand the difference there. I've seen him a lot with, let's say, Max Kellerman. But I haven't really seen Teofimo Lopez go outside of that and branch to other ESPN shows through the car wash that we talk about often, right? The Dan Le Batard show, whatever it may be. Go do other ESPN shows. For example, like Jorge Masvidal, when he knocked out Ben Askren and was going to fight Nate Diaz at the UFC card, he went on all the ESPN shows, talked about all the highlights of all the different sports, was actually on the show as like a guest host. That is, like, to spend an entire day self-promoting on a network like that is massive. Teofimo Lopez never really has done that. He's been on Max on Boxing show, but that's really it. Hasn't really branched outside of that. So I think it's still very much a hardcore fight. And obviously Inoue is a hardcore fight. I mean, let's be honest about it.
I don't think it's any it's like Lomachenko versus Rigo was, right? Where boxing fans are all a buzz over it, but outside of the boxing world, no one else really cares. That's kind of like that?
No, because like Loma Rigo actually did really good numbers. That was the best numbers Loma's ever done. Was the Rigo fight. if it does, let's say in some hypothetical world, it's on ESPN, like regular ESPN, it does those numbers, huge success. If it does over 2 million views,
So you don't
massive.
think now Loma Rigo followed the Heisman show, didn't it?
Yes.
So you had that, yeah, you had that.
Yeah, but I think the lead in like context, while it's necessary at times, is used often as an excuse for like events doing well. But like we just saw with the Crawford fight that was on the Heisman show, or I had a Heisman lead in, it didn't matter.
No.
He had a million viewership drop off from his last fight that was on ESPN. Massive drop off. Lead in didn't count, didn't matter. Even though that had also a noticeable drop off in the last Heisman, the last year's Heisman ceremony. Doesn't matter. It was a precipitous drop off for Crawford. So, to your point, maybe the matchup of Lopez Loma when it gets closer, does it break over that bubble? Potentially. To a slight degree where it hits maybe more of that wider sporting audience that still likes boxing, but they tune in for, let's say, 3 or 4 cards a year. That type of fan, maybe. This might be one of their 5 cards a year they watch. I could see that.
Yeah.
But you would have to promote it. And promote it more than you have any Loma fight before, let's be honest.
So if I said to you it does better or worse than Loma Rigo, what would you say?
I would probably say it does worse.
Yeah, that's not good. Loma should Loma should have used that to build a star. Like he should be projecting up from there, not that be his plateau.
I think Lopez is going to beat Loma. They're going to do a very good viewership, a very respectable viewership. Maybe even hit that 2 million average, the whole telecast average. That'd be massive for them. And then he's going to go on and be a big star after that and fight bigger names and do better numbers. And that would be big for Lopez. Loma's tapped out, like in terms of his ceiling. He just has, in my opinion. Like we're not going to see Loma become a bigger star than what he is.
No, I mean we would have been a bigger star by now, right? Like he would have take off after the Rigo fight, which he didn't. But Lopez has a chance to be a pay-per-view star, especially given his division. He's going to have Ryan Garcia there. He's going to have Devin Haney and Tanahara there.
It's not even that when he moves up to 147, man.
And then but Haney's going to be there every step of the way. Like Haney's a big dude, right? So I would have him fight Haney as quickly as possible, and then have him fight again at 147 at different stages of their career. Like that could really be a fun rivalry for the next 10, 12 years because they're both so young and so good.
Ryan Garcia is a massive fight for him too. Let's be honest.
He's not at that level. But yeah, no, it is a big fight, but he'll blow him out and then be like, okay, well, we're not really. Do we really need to see this again? Kind of thing,
Yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't be as bad like the Tanahara fight.
Well, I mean, Tanahara would be style. Tanahara versus Teofimo Lopez.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like Lopez would destroy Tanahara far more than he would destroy Ryan Garcia.
No, Ryan Garcia would get knocked out. Tanahara would have to box beautifully up the box back, but like he does, and turn it into his style of fight and not get in.
I want everyone to know when they see the rankings, because I'm gonna put like the PDF link so you guys can see like the spreadsheet, see my individual rankings and Gary's individual rankings, see the math for yourselves, right? And plus it's the overall rankings. But where Gary has Tanahara is criminal, guys. And his ranking at 135, it is criminal. You have him like number 7 or 6 in the world. It is.
I have him at 10. He's at 10.
No, he's not. He is not at 10. I don't know. I'm not. I'm
9. I think he's at 10. I'm 90% certain.
I'm pulling it up right now.
90% certain he's at 9 or 10.
I'm pulling it up right now. We can wait, Gary.
Yeah. Okay.
But while we're waiting, which fight would you prefer, Casimero or Oubaali for Inoue?
I'm fine with either fight. If I had my druthers.
Damn, you're right. You had Tanahara at 10. You had Tanahara at 10. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure he was in the top 10. So I was like, it was really only 9 other spots I was filling. I didn't remember if I put him at 9 or 10. I would rather probably the Oubaali fight. I think he's more athletic. I think Casimero would just get blown out. I think too much there to be hit. Where Oubaali's more athletic and both guys are getting knocked out. Don't get it twisted, right? Like either guy. Both guys would get knocked out in the same night. But I would rather see Oubaali.
And plus, I mean, you have the storyline of him beating his brother, Takuma Inoue. Like, that's automatic selling point for me. Like, that's petty, soap opera bullshit narratives that I love in combat sports. Give me that. Just for the sake of argument, we're about halfway down the show. So guys, call in 323-870-4051 and press 1 to get in the queue. International callers calling on Skype, Mixed Combat Radio. Gary, I know you're not as online as I am, per se. I'm really online on Twitter and seeing what the boxing streets are talking about, right? And there was a discussion this last week or so, last few days, let's say, that over the Fight of the Year nominations, awards given to Inoue versus Donaire. And a lot of people compared it to Gervonta Davis, who, by the way, did make weight. He got made to like 134.8, by the way. He did make weight, just for those who want to know. That it would be the equivalent of Gamboa going like life and death with Gervonta Davis and putting on a Fight of the Year contender. And all of us saying that, that means Gervonta Davis is pound for pound. Do you think those two things are equal?
No, that's a logical fallacy called a false equivalence, right? Like, no, those two things. We already saw Donaire.
Are they similar? Maybe they're not equal, but are they similar in any way? Just to play devil's advocate.
I don't think so, because I'm a Gamboa fan, but we haven't seen anything to think that he's back. We saw Donaire look really good against Brian Burnett, and that fight ended prematurely. And Burnett, I had on my pound for pound list, right? And then a guy that replaced Tete, he blew him out, right? So we saw that Donaire still had a ton of firepower at 118. That was probably the best weight for him. And I don't think Donaire definitely had moments and it was a great fight. I don't think Inoue got life or death. I mean, obviously he got his face broken in, but I felt he was in control for most of that fight, although it was a great fight.
Well, take away the life and death angle. Let's just say that, like...
Great fight.
No. Inoue facing and going and struggling, let's say, and having a Fight of the Year performance against Nordine Oubaali. A guy, let's say, Carl Frampton kind of beat, like an 8-2 scorecard, something like that, or was that a 12-rounder? It would be like...
So like 9-3.
Yeah, 9-3, something like that. It was pretty clear that Carl Frampton was winning the fight, and it was a slow-paced fight. We saw Donaire sort of look old. And all of a sudden, he had a very quick fight with Burnett that ended via injury, so we didn't really get to see what happened there. He fought a replacement to Tete, so that really didn't, give us much there. And then he gave Inoue, a guy that skipped a lot of the tough fights at 115. Let's just be honest about it. And struggled with Donaire. Is that a sign that maybe we are overhyping Inoue at all? That's been a conversation I have seen. I am putting that out there for us to discuss because I've just seen it out there. That would be interesting for us to discuss. And plus, we're talking about Inoue here. But I don't know. I'll be honest. I thought it was a compelling argument. I don't know if it's true because I like you said, I like Inoue. I like Donaire. For the comparison, I've been seeing the Davis and Gamboa comparison. I like Gamboa too. I've always been high on Gamboa. So that comparison's a little bit of a weird comparison because people are shitting on Gamboa and I think he shouldn't be shitted on. But we thought Inoue was the destroyer of worlds. Donaire was a faded veteran in some ways that shrunk himself down by nearly 20 pounds to make this division for a last run. Is a sign that we are overhyping Inoue. Is it possible?
I mean, I don't think so, because look at his 3 fights before that. They were all first and second round blowouts of really good fighters. So I don't think so. Look, you're not going to be able to knock everyone out in the first round. Donaire is much bigger, much stronger than him. And no, Donaire's a Hall of Famer. It's like saying, was Canelo overrated because an over-the-hill Miguel Cotto gave him problems? Like, no, Cotto's a great fighter. Canelo got a tough fight, and Canelo was that great, and he got past him. Right? If Canelo wasn't great, he wouldn't have got past Cotto. If Donaire wasn't great, he wouldn't have got past...
if Inoue wasn't great, yeah.
If Inoue wasn't great, he wouldn't have got past Donaire, right? No, I don't think it means that we're overrating him. I think it means that you're not going to blow everyone out. He got a real tough guy who's naturally bigger than him, and he passed the test. It was a heck of a test, but I thought he passed it with flying colors. I mean, I thought Donaire won a few rounds, and Donaire definitely hurt him and had a moment, but Inoue did the better work and landed the cleanest shots and nearly stopped him in, was it the 10th round? 9th round? 10th round? What round did he drop him with the body shot?
I think it's the 11th.
Was it the 11th?
Could be wrong. I want to say 11th. I'm guessing here. It's
Okay.
around the end of the fight. I agree with all your points that you just said there. I think you're overall right. I just think it's good to have some balance here to the discussion. Because, I mean, let's be honest here. Inoue is hyped to a significant
We
degree.
are probably his 2 biggest fans in the States. And to have us always talk about him. It's like when you watch the old World Series and it would be like McCarver and Buck. McCarver was a Hall of Famer for the Cardinals, and Buck's dad, Jack Buck, was the Cardinals play-by-play guy for like 50 years, right? And they would call the World Series. And when the Cardinals played in the World Series, it was just like a love affair with the Cardinals. I feel like when me and Matt get on the Inoue bandwagon, sometimes it might sound like that too. The listener.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Let's go to the next topic.